It is big, it's breaking. Erik Ten Hag has stayed. Finally, the battle is won. Erik Ten Hag is staying as Manchester United manager, as has just been confirmed by sources from the club. It is been a long time, of course, of speculating and hoping that this is what happens after Manchester United won the FA Cup title. Well, it has finally been decided that Ineos will keep Erik Ten Hag, suggesting that Ineos have been in talks with Erik Ten Hag over a contract. A lot coming through. This has been broken by Ben Jacobs, by the way, saying that here is, let me just read it for you the way he dropped it there. Latest one just coming in just less than 15 minutes ago. It has just broken. They are saying that Erik Ten Hag, after the season review by Ineos, Erik Ten Hag has been told he will stay in charge at Manchester United, as Ineos are ready to go into further talks to try and keep him longer at the club, according to the reports that we are getting. It's extremely important, really, that this had to be put away. Ineos had always to come up with a decision, make a statement, and make it clear what their plan is. I think now it is becoming evident that they want to move on. They are ready to move on. This is what we've been waiting for. The focus now should be on the transfer talk. The internet is playing games a bit, and my live is up and about. But okay, let me read it for you. Erik Ten Hag will remain as Manchester United manager following the completion of an end of season review. Understand talks are underway surrounding a new contract that will be, though it has been broken by David Ornstein, who first called this one. And this is David Ornstein's statement saying that Erik Ten Hag to stay as Manchester United manager. Man United end of season review culminated with decision to keep 54-year-old in position. After talks today, the talks were held today. The Dutchman will remain at Old Trafford plus hold negotiations over a contract extension. This is David Ornstein of The Athletic, who earlier today was telling us he's done with speculating. Well, right now he's coming through to confirm what we all were hoping for. The good news is finally out and broken. Erik Ten Hag is the manager of Manchester United. Let everyone know it's a sound warning that Manchester United is now back to business. We've got to go back now and focus on what matters now. That is the transfer talk. That is us going into to sign players. That is Man United moving forward with the project. The project is now going to progress in the direction we are hoping it does. And indeed, this I think has been how many months of speculation. I think it's been so long, a long period of speculation. And the reality is, Ineos realized that they were missing out on a lot. We are certainly missing out on players. We are beginning to lose trust. The fans were beginning to lose trust in the project. The silence was way too loud. The silence was unbearable, that Ineos had to come out with a statement. And soon we will be seeing that official statement. But the source here who broke this story is extremely credible. And of course, as you expect, Erik Ten Hag is currently at number one. Before him, it was Joao Neves, still a player linked with Manchester United, while Erik Ten Hag is now trending and more. The club conducted a 2-week thorough process and performance review. It factored in the 2023-2024 season and broader first team operations. Man United then held constructive conversations with Ten Hag. The club considered all eventualities, including due diligence on other candidates, but came to a clear conclusion: Ten Hag should stay. Club and Ten Hag have now entered negotiations on a contract extension. This is the latest coming through. Let me know in the comment section whether you're happy about this news. First one to view, Mwanguzi Brian Gibb. Good to see you, Brian. You are indeed the first one here and the first one to drop a comment here. It is indeed a good day to be a Manchester United supporter. I think it's progress. This speaks of progress. This speaks of us moving forward. This speaks of us moving on in the right direction. In case you're just joining us, I'm breaking the news for you. In case you're just waking up from your sleep, I'm sorry, I'm waking you up. But this was not for a recorded video. This was supposed to be for a live video. It's indeed breaking news. Just less than 10 minutes ago, it is David Ornstein who broke it, saying that Manchester United, after their end of season review, have let me read it for you verbatim as he dropped it. Erik Ten Hag to stay as Manchester United manager. Man United end of season review culminated with decision to keep the 54-year-old in position. After talks today, Dutchman will remain at Old Trafford and hold negotiations over contract extension. This is according to the man who broke the story, David Ornstein. Indeed, this guy is really, I think, faster taking the held constructive conversations with Ten Hag. The club considered all eventualities, including due diligence on other candidates, but came to a clear conclusion: Ten Hag should stay. So the point is, the reason they have been talking about all these other managers, speaking to Thomas Tuchel, speaking to managers like spoken about Pochettino, Roberto Di Zerbi, is because they were trying to make sure the best man is in charge of their project. And after searching and searching, they did not find anyone better than Erik Ten Hag. That's why I think the last person they spoke to, the last person they contacted was Thomas Tuchel in the meeting he had with Sergeant Ratcliffe in Monaco last Tuesday. And they said, you know what, you're not good enough. So we are sticking with the manager. Better the devil you know than the angel you don't. He's backed by the entire fan base, I think, at least the majority of it. And honestly, I think for me, this I think is an official opening to our transfer window. I think this is what is going to start our transfer window, our summer transfer window. Clinton Zingai, happy to see him stay. Thank you, Mr. Webb. Thank you, Clinton. Miles they say, is the second to report, and he's saying, I'm happy. Now we need new signings now. Thank you, Mr. Webb. Now, speaking of signings, and I will keep going back, of course, for the people who are just joining us to update him on what's happening. Now, speaking of signings, just before this news broke, I had just dropped a video. And guys, if you have the time before you go back to sleep, you might want to watch my previous video about Joao Neves and the update, how Neves is giving Man United all the signs that he's ready to move. Because Bruno Fernandes has definitely been doing the work. Whereas we know that Neves has been speaking to Cristiano Ronaldo as well, who we know is not a fan of what United has become. Extension, whereas the president of Benfica was trying to trick him down into extending his stay at Benfica, he says no. So that's a sign that we could have the dream midfield that has got Kobe, Bruno, and Neves at Manchester United. For me, this is where we need to start judging Erik Ten Hag. With all these players, what would he do? But Ineos are convinced he's the man. Miles Art is happy. Mwanguzi Brian, Ten Hag would have performed better, but was let down due to injuries. Amazio Asye, good to go Manu. Erik stays. Indeed, Erik Ten Hag is staying as Manchester United manager. And listen, he's got a year left on his contract, but that's not all. The plan is to keep him longer. That's the plan. The plan is to tie him down to a contract extension. To tie him down, guys, you better spread this news. Share on this live. Share this live. Share the link in your WhatsApp groups. People are sleeping. Wake people up and let's enjoy this live because, guys, this is what we've been praying and hoping for. We've got to stay up and enjoy as it comes because, wow, how long has it been with Man United supporters speculating? Because the reality is we had dropped the ball. Ineos have seen it that they had to say something because we were losing out on potential signings. The risk, the cost of their silence was extremely big because we lost out on Tosin, Benjamin Sesko, who I think I was told by someone that Benjamin Sesko to choose to stay at RB Leipzig is because it was for him, it was either United, got a lot he has got to work on. We all agree to that. But one of the things I loved about him is his, first of all, clearly his determination to make it work at Manchester United. Even when he came and inherited a rot like no other, he showed a clear passion for the club. He showed a clear determination for the club. He let go of Cristiano Ronaldo because he felt Cristiano Ronaldo and he's a senior player was exposing. He felt like he didn't belong. He was exposing the club. Now, that's being selfish. And we all know Ronaldo is definitely a selfish player. We love him. He's a legend. But he's a selfish player. That's why he's been able to play until he's almost 40, going to the Euros again. But Ten Hag has consistently shown that he loves this club more than even the players, which for me, I think has always been a good thing for me. I think it made me love him and believe more in him and what he's doing. Two, the other thing I loved about Erik Ten Hag, and besides, of course, his ruthlessness and setting standards and what have you, is how he has been confident and bold speaking to this British media who can make the job extremely difficult for you. Ten Hag has always consistently spoken with his head high. It's only once that he got injured, he couldn't have it, and he stormed out of the press conference. It should have been after the 4-0 loss to Crystal Palace because it was humiliating, and the guys were rubbing it even more. The guy was consistently saying the same thing in the media, talking about the injuries, the injuries, the injuries, and the injuries. But the British media did not care. So for me, I liked the fact that he's held on with Man United even through the hardest times. Another manager with the caliber of Erik Ten Hag could have moved on and said, you know what, this is not what I expected. This is not what I signed up for. I'm moving on. But this guy has been there and has been fighting and setting standards, sticking to his decisions, and indeed, eventually, he ended up beating the biggest club in Europe convincingly. That win against Man City in the FA Cup final, recall after the last game against Brighton in the English Premier League, when he said these players in his speech, these players, he said, these players are going to fight to bring that title. He lost one final to Pep Guardiola. He said, I'm not losing another. And indeed, he came up with a master plan that dominated. You don't just come out then the next day and you're sacking such a guy. I'll give a lot of credit to the supporters of Man United who indeed rose up so fast after the FA Cup victory to say, you know what, let's back the manager. So the victory is eventually yours and Erik Ten Hag's. Now, of course, it's time to get to business and do the work. Mwanguzi Brian Gibb is asking, what has Manu decided on Sancho? It is has already been decided. Sancho is not returning. He's not returning. Come shine, come rain. Sancho is a gone case. He's not returning to Manchester United. If there is no potential buyer, there is no buyer, no suitor, they will keep loaning him on and on and on. That's clearly what has come out of Manchester United. This has been confirmed. So for Sancho, you recall just a few days ago, Sancho giving ultimatum saying that he will only return to Manchester United if Erik Ten Hag is leaving. Come on, it's not. It's not. It wasn't smart of him. So clearly, Sancho got so full of himself, but he didn't know that Ten Hag would have the last laugh. 2 trophies in 2 seasons, 3 finals. Honestly, that deserves a new contract. Ten Hag is coming. So what next for Erik Ten Hag? The first thing, of course, we need to do now, the most important thing for Man United to do now is to sign players. Give him players to sign. That is the most important thing. Get focused on the transfer window. The last summer, the mistakes we made cannot be repeated. We dragged a lot, and we missed out on players like Kim Min-jae, he went to Chelsea. We need now to get things done, and it's good. And I honestly, when I saw Erik Ten Hag returned from his holiday early, I was like, this should be something. He must have been someone because he was in Ibiza on holiday. But I said he must have been somebody for something to happen. And for me, I'm not shocked by this news, guys. If you're just waking up, if you're just joining us, the update is Erik Ten Hag will remain as Man United manager. The club is now looking to extend the Dutchman's contract. This is Ineos now. People were screaming Ineos out. Well, Ineos are proving to us that they are indeed for the fans of the club. They do listen to the opinions of the supporters. For me, that's extremely important. That's extremely important. Guys, you can, of course, drop your comment in there and let me know. Let me know your opinion about this news. Let me know about your opinion about this, what you think. But yeah, it's indeed I think one good way to start this new day. It's a new day already, definitely. It's a new day. It's, I think, a good way to start it. It's a good way to start this new day, really. And I'll tell you, the situation is going to change and things are going to happen so fast. Ineos have been doing things, I mean, behind the scenes. And I feel like after now putting this Erik Ten Hag thing to the side and, sorting it, I feel like a lot then is going to happen around Manchester United. We are going to see now things being revealed now. Probably on player situations. I told you players like Johnny Evans have been offered new contracts. He's yet to respond whether he wants to stay or not. We are going to see a lot now. There's going to be more transfer talk now. We are going to see serious transfers happening. Of course, when the moment the transfer window officially opens, I think it's going to be serious progress. I feel like this is a new energy. This is going to be a newfound energy in the club that I think will thrust us into utopia where we belong, where we haven't been for a long time. Amazing stuff right there coming through from Manchester United. Ineos mean business. No more joking. Olise for Sancho. Well, Olise is one of the players we've been linked with, of course. Michael Olise. I feel for me, honestly, before we get into Michael Olise yet, I think we need to sort. I think it's only right the fact that we don't have so much money. There is a report that I read, and I spoke about this before. We have little money to spend. We have a net spend of about 50 million pounds, and as long as we haven't sold players, we won't buy. We won't be able to buy so many players because that money is too little. Now, my thinking is before we think about spending the little we have on Michael Olise, we first need to seal Joao Neves. We first need to bring in a holding midfielder. We need to bring in Todibo. Todibo might be a given because OGC Nish belongs to Sir Jim Ratcliffe. It's good now. We've been linked with Kakes, the left, another young player. But for me, with Luke Shaw now back training with the England team, not so much money to spend. First sign the important ones. The first most important player to sign is a replacement for Casemiro, who without a doubt is not staying. Then sign Yoto Dibo, a centre back. Bring a backup striker. We've been linked to Jonathan David and Ivan Toney now. Sign a backup striker for Rasmus Højlund. That's a replacement for Anthony Martial. Those are the three, for me, most important departments we need to sort this summer. With the wing, I know Olise is a good player, don't get it twisted, but he's quite expensive. Olise is a little expensive. And if we spend so much money on him now, we are going to struggle. You saw how we wasted money on Mason Mount, yet he was not a critical player. He was not an important player at the time because we are all asking what problem is Mason Mount solving at Man United. So I feel like you need to have your priorities right when you're signing players. Go position per position and say, with the forwards, we can, if the money is not enough, we can still hang on with Ahmad for a little while. But we also have Mason Greenwood, whose decision I think should be the next important thing we are calling for now. We've called for the decision on Erik Ten Hag and we've got the victory. We should be now making the noise. The web fans of Man United made noise about Mason Greenwood. And I tell you guys, this is what I've been telling people. We keep saying that we want Ineos to listen to the supporters. They are writing letters. The majority of supporters of Man United have wanted Erik Ten Hag to stay, and indeed Ineos have done it. I will tell you, Ineos have done it for the supporters. It's the backing that they saw for Erik Ten Hag that caused them to make this decision. But the reality is they had sacked the guy. But why don't we bring that same energy? Because I know the biggest majority of Man United supporters want Mason Greenwood back. Because if we bring back Mason Greenwood, we won't need Michael Olise. You don't need Michael Olise. How about we now make push the pressure on bringing back Mason Greenwood? The thing is, there are a bunch of hypocrites who fear speaking about Greenwood, yet they know he's the best winger and he's far better than Michael Olise. So my thinking is the same way we put all this pressure on Ineos to retain Erik Ten Hag, I think that's the same amount of pressure we should now put on them to bring back Mason Greenwood instead of being excited by Michael Olise. For me, there is no better winger we would bring in. Put Mason Greenwood on the right, Garnacho on the left, Højlund up top, Bruno as 10, or Kobe Maino is my preferred number 10. But okay, Bruno as 10, Kobe and Joao Neves, Todibo and Lisandro Martinez, Luke Shaw and Diogo Dalot. Man United is competitive. At least that's a good summer. That would be a good summer. We buy 3 players and bring back Greenwood. For me, deal with the consequences of reintegrating him into the squad. Unless he doesn't want to return. But even if he doesn't, convince him. You can talk to him and convince him. He would want to return because he's a Man United boy. He has been in the academy. If he feels like the club is backing him, he will want to stay. So for me, before we get excited, miles out by Olise, I just want to have clarity on Mason Greenwood because I'm not yet done. I'm not yet convinced that there is no chance back for Mason Greenwood. Mwanguzi, Brian Gibb, Ten Hag will make history with Man United close to Ferguson. I think they're beginning to realize that. Edward Johnson, this is the best news for today, man. It doesn't get any better than this. Miles at Mr. Webb, what has Man U decided on Mason Greenwood? Man U have, first of all, put him in the return list. They are saying we either get the right deal or we keep him. Trigger 1-year contract extension and we keep him. Now, the reports that are coming through now suggest that Juventus are seriously interested in him. They just confirmed Thiago Motta as their coach, by the way. But they are saying Juventus are seriously interested in him, and they want to get him in a swap deal. All clubs were trying to cut down on the valuation. Man United values him at about £34 million. That's what I hear. I find that as peanuts. I think Mason Greenwood is a £100 million player plus. That's what I think. He's young, he's hot, he's the hottest winger, and all clubs need wingers like him, all the big clubs in the world. But of course, because he's an academy boy, they say he's all profit. So the valuation is a bit low. And the fact that he's got only, at most, can have 2 years left on his contract. Perhaps that's why they value him at £34 million. But for me, £34 million cannot get us a world-class player. Mason Greenwood is a world-class player. Why lose him for that? For those peanuts? I feel like that's wrong, unless that is what they put in his buyout clause before. But even if that's what they did, get him now, tie him down to a contract extension and increase the buyout clause. The way Benfica were quick to rush, the way Crystal Palace were quick to rush to renegotiate the contract for Michael Olise. In the last summer, Olise's buyout clause was £35 million. Chelsea were meeting it. He refused to join Chelsea. Quickly, he was injured, returns, they tie him down on a contract extension and give him a buyout clause believed to be over £60 million. Do the same, but we can't lose Mason Greenwood for £34 million. And that's what, and clubs are even saying that's too little. Now Juventus are talking of giving us a swap deal, a little cash, and give us some British kid who does not even play for them. And I'm thinking, this is wrong if Ineos are going to settle for this. But that's why Mwanguzi Brand Gibb, what is Greenwood's future at United? Because he would be perfect with Garnacho. Thank you. Mwanguzi Brand Gibb, Rashford should leave. Yeah, Rashford, perhaps he's trying to work on himself. He's off social media, and it is believed that he's trying to focus on, getting help with rehabilitation. Remember, the club was committed to helping him, because the fact is, and I'm one of those who thought Rashford should leave for the longest time. But at hindsight, I think about it and I'm saying, this is an academy boy. He has got the worst time of his career. There could be a reason behind it. Let's first try to support him and give him a chance. My issue with him is, even when he comes back to performing to good ways, to the top levels, is he going to be a team player, or will he still be selfish, thinking he's the one to score the goals? That should be, I think, cleared in his head, because Rashford should not be at Man United. Rashford and Garnacho and these wingers should not be at Man United to score goals. Yes, they can bring in a few goals, but their role should be to feed the target man in Højlund to get us the goals, as many goals, because we cannot win titles if we're competing with Man City that's having a striker scoring 30, nearly 40 goals a season. Arsenal are failing to win titles because they don't have that striker. They think goals can come from all over and you win the title. In the Premier League, it's unless you are as good as Pep Guardiola's Man City with the David Silvers and the other clubs are so bad, you need a striker who is going to guarantee you 20 to 25 goals a season for you to win the Premier League. All the other add-ons can boost that. Now, United have the striker who can do that, but the players around him do not necessitate him to do that. He has to grind a lot to score the goals. So for me, the thing is, even when Marcus Rashford goes into his rehabilitation and returns and is better player, better attitude, he should be playing to feed the striker, the target man, not playing to score for himself. The problem I've had with Garnacho is he's playing to score for himself, even when Højlund, who makes the best runs in European football for me for a striker, even Rooney admitted this. This boy's runs are the best runs I've seen for me in a long time. But he's not given the ball because the wingers are trying to score for themselves. That, for me, is the biggest issue. And these are the things that Erik Ten Hag needs to focus on going forward. Now that his job has been sorted, the weaknesses Erik Ten Hag has had is not telling these players, because even when he has gone in the press, he's talking about Rashford as if he should be scoring goals, instead of talking about him like he should be he should be assisting to Rasmus Højlund. Create the unit. The way Barcelona with Pep had Messi, Suarez, and Neymar, they were all good players. They could easily score goals for themselves, but they were a team. They were assisting each other, and they, up to now, they're stuck in our heads because they created something like we've never seen in football. That's what you do. So imagine United having the midfield three of Neves, Maino, and Bruno. Then up top, we have Garnacho, Højlund, and Mason Greenwood, all playing as a team. The front three playing as a team, the mid three playing as a unit. United would be unplayable. We would be unplayable, trust me. I watched the goal that And I was reflecting on it. The goal that Kobe Maino scored against Man City in the FA Cup final, I think Pep Guardiola up to now has not recovered from that goal. The speed with which that ball, the transition from the back, I don't recall who passed that ball to Garnacho up top, then Garnacho's quick pass to Bruno, then Bruno's no-look pass to Kobe, and the three in split seconds. That's the kind of football these kids can play. Now imagine if you have Mason Greenwood on one wing, Garnacho on the other, Bruno, Kobe, Neves, Hoyland, boy, United will be unplayable. With that pace and directness, we will be unplayable. So Erik Ten Hag needs to emphasize the unit. The second thing Erik Ten Hag needs to work on, I think the ruthlessness will be sorted because he has got our structure around him. It's not all on him. The load is not on him. But the other thing Erik Ten Hag needs to work on is his tactics and his being a one-trick pony. You cannot go into war with the same tactics when you're fighting Hezbollah, you're fighting Al Qaeda, you're fighting some Kony in northern Uganda. You can't fight war with the same tactics. It doesn't play, hoping for different results. It can't happen. So I think bottom of that list probably, not on the top of it. Antony, no one is talking about Antony. There's a bit of a silence about Antony. The thing is, Antony is 23 and he has got a long contract. The idea might be to loan him out first. Sancho, that one is a given. For Sancho, it was decided already. Miles at Todibo, Neves, Greenwood, then swap Sancho with Ivan Toney. Wow, that would be smart. That would be smart. The other big issue to sort is the striker situation. And of course, we'll talk about that. There's been a couple of names that have come up, and Ivan Toney is among them. Of course, he will be leading the list if he's in there. He will be leading the list. I mean, the rest we only have to follow. But for me, I'm still for Sahu Girassi. I think Ivan Toney could be a little expensive. We might not have that cash to spend in this summer. We need just a backup. I think for me, Sahu Girassi is still someone we need to give a chance. Mwanguzi Brand Gibb, what will happen to Luke Shaw? Because he criticized Ten Hag and the medics for the injury issues at United. Well, Luke Shaw is the best left back when he's fit in Europe. So, and his criticism he included himself. He said the honest thing. These British kids will always say the honest thing. I don't see. I feel like this Luke Shaw's thing can be managed. It's a mental health thing because he was also frustrated. You cannot blame a player for he was almost going to miss the Euros because of wrong decisions, and he probably included himself because to look good. But the reality is he was blaming Erik Ten Hag and the medics for making the decision to play him against Luton, yet he really couldn't. He was not supposed to play. So the only reason he dropped in himself is because he said I should have refused to play. But he said, I cannot be told by the manager. We need a winger. That's Mason Greenwood for me. We need a winger. That's Mason Greenwood. I'm not done on Mason Greenwood. So instead of spending money, guys, we forget. Let me ask you here. What would be your priority of signings if you were Sir Jim Ratcliffe and you had to sign players this side with the budget? And I'm assuming you have an idea of the financial situation Man United is in. If it is up to you now to sign players, how would you prioritize the signings? Which positions? By position. I just want to put it to you out there. Drop in the comment section and let me know. How would you prioritize the signings for Erik Ten Hag in this summer? In terms of position, that this would be the first signing position I would sort. This would be the second, because bearing in mind how much you have, because these are the games these are the calculations that have got to be made during this period. That we know we want so many players. They would probably say they need another backup goalkeeper because it's possible that we could lose Altel Baindil. He has been unsettled since he joined. He feels he should be playing. Perhaps he felt he was not given the right chances. But exactly, you see Brian Yemen, that's exactly what I was saying. We need a defender, midfield, and a striker. Well, me, I would switch it. I would say a midfield backline have been so exposed because Casemiro was not playing at his best levels even when he was not fit. Scott McTominay was not good enough. Kobe Maino came in, but Kobe is not a number 6. He's only learning to be a number 6. Amrabat came, but he he's the only one who tried, but in the last games of the season. And he gave us a semblance of what a good number 6 can give us. You saw how we are not leaking goals when Amrabat was playing at his best level. The biggest problem why we concede goals is not because we have very poor center backs. I think it is because we have had no number 6. A number 6 is very important. He's the first line of defense, I would say. If you have the right number, that's why Saliba and the guy he plays with at Arsenal, what's his name? Saliba, William Saliba and Gabriel look good. It's because they have a good number 6 in front of them, shielding them. So for me, before we go to spend money on this defender, so much money on the defender, we need to spend whichever amount of money we have to spend on the right number 6. If it is Mwanguzi. So yeah, I think you can hear me now. Hello, hello, hello. Hello. Yeah, I believe you can hear me now. So yeah, thank you, Mwanguzi. I don't think Greenwood will start Manchester United. Well, chances are he won't, but that's what we would love to do. We won't give up. I don't think we need to give up yet. We're almost giving up on Erik Ten Hag, but look what happened. Ineos, I feel like Ineos can be pressured into doing what we want. That's why I say if we keep making the noise, why wouldn't he return? Unless he didn't want himself. But even him, if we saw supporters backing him the way we are backing Erik Ten Hag, Greenwood would want to come back at Man United. But the thing is, there is a big number of Man United supporters who are hypocrites. In their heart of hearts, they know Greenwood can come back to United. He should come back to United, but they fear. But Phil Jones, but I think it's a bit unfair. Phil Jones is stopped playing football. The boy is only 32, and he's being spoken about as a former Man United player. But injuries can kill your career. People think he failed to get a club, but it's injuries. It's injuries. So Phil Jones' career was cut short by injuries, unfortunately. Yet Phil Jones, by the way, he played under Sir Alex Ferguson through injuries. So injuries can kill your career. They can kill your career. Certain players are unlucky. So Jones, please don't laugh at him. Mwanguzi Brian Gibb, he tried. He would play central defense. He would play right back. He would play midfield at times. But unlucky, he's only 32. He should be enjoying Saudi money. But he's spoken about as a former footballer. So meaning he stopped playing football. He can think about his mental health. Think about his life. I mean, it's sad. It's a sad thing. But yeah. Brian Diamen, yeah, that's better. Okay, thank you. Yeah, now you hear Mwangs. Okay, thank you so much, guys. So I think for me, pretty much this is it. I think you've got the news now. I'm going to let you retire. I believe many of you have got to wake up early in the morning and go to work. The news is out there. It's now time for business. We need to get to work as Manchester United. Like, share, subscribe, and I'll see you again tomorrow. Good night.